The markets are volatile to say the least. Two major drops for the Dow in 1 week. Tonight, a super committee of politicians say they hope to come to the rescue. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. The markets are in trouble as investors try to gauge what's next with the economy. One of the answers may lie with a so-called congressional super committee charged with creating a plan to cut the nation's debt. Brian Latham has more on how the committee is shaping up and what many of you expect it to do.
Congress is in recess, but lawmakers couldn't leave the nation's deficit behind as they left town. Senators talk about it at town hall meetings.
To reform, you would actually have to have true cuts in the budget. You would have to spend less next year than you spend this year.
Voters are talking back.
I want to see you working together. That means Democrats, Republicans.
Does that mean that you think that we should agree to raise taxes?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so we want taxes.
Someone has to cut through the confusion. That's where 12 lawmakers on a bipartisan congressional committee will come in. They're charged with cutting the deficit by at least $1.5 trillion over the next decade.
When you see the extremes in there, it's going to take them a while to establish trust, but they don't have 3 months to establish trust.
The committee has until Thanksgiving to devise a plan. If Congress doesn't approve it, there'll be across-the-board spending cuts.
The president believes the committee needs to take its work seriously.
And the last three are in place on that super committee. Just announced today, Democrat Senators James Clyburn of South Carolina, Xavier Becerra of California, and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland will join Republican Senators Jon Kyl of Arizona, Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, and Ohio Senator Rob Portman. House members include Democrats Max Baucus of Montana, John Kerry of Massachusetts, and Patty Murray of Washington. Republicans include Jim Hensarling of Texas, Dave Camp, and Fred Upton, both of Michigan. By the way, a recent poll shows 63% of you want the deficit reduction bill to increase taxes on businesses and higher income Americans. 57% want major cuts in domestic spending, but most do not want major changes to Social Security or Medicare. Looking for an investment? Gold has broken yet another record. It topped $1,800 an ounce yesterday for the first time ever. The precious metal is typically seen as a safe investment since it often performs well even in times of instability. These unstable times may have you hitting the brakes when it comes to car repairs. Ryan Bass has that and more in tonight's Back to Business.
A host of airline passenger protection rules set to kick in later this month will have to wait. Airlines and travel agents say they need more time to implement the changes. The DOT agreed to delay a handful of changes until next year. The new rules came about after passengers complained of spending hours trapped in planes on the tarmac with broken toilets and not enough food. Drivers are avoiding a lot more than potholes on the road. AAA finds 54% of us are holding on to older vehicles because we don't have enough money to buy a new one. And a quarter of drivers admit to neglecting repairs and maintenance over the past year because of the economic climate. Plus, 1 in 4 people say they can't afford a $2,000 repair. 1 in 8 people can't pay for a $1,000 repair. Those are pretty common amounts for a trip to the mechanic. Walmart will stop selling digital music as of August 29th. Customers who already bought digital music from Walmart may continue to use and manage their music on the site. Walmart began selling MP3s in 2003 to compete with Apple's iTunes.
Walmart will now concentrate its digital efforts on its Vudu.com streaming service. For Back to Business, I'm Ryan Bass.
Well, if you're in the market for a new car, wait till fall. Industry analysts predict we'll soon be offered lots of incentives with low interest rates and rebates. Analysts believe November and December will be the best deals offered. 3 siblings suspected of a crime spree in Florida and Georgia are still in Colorado while officials sort out the charges they face. The Doherty gang was captured after a high-speed chase, shootout, and crash near Pueblo, Colorado. They are wanted for a bank robbery in Valdosta, Georgia, and the attempted murder of a Florida police officer. It's not known yet when Ryan Doherty, sister Lee Grace Doherty, and half-brother Dylan will be moved back to Georgia or Florida. The sightings of the 3 yesterday in Colorado Springs had local authorities on the hunt and not taking any chances. Raven Cascaden and her fiancé, David Cabrera, live in Colorado Springs. They were right in the middle of the search for the 3 suspects. They were driving down Nevada Avenue when a Colorado State Patrol officer pulled them over.
The cop had asked if I had been watching the news, if I seen the two brothers and the sisters from Florida, and if I knew that they were here or something, and I said, yeah, I have been watching the news, and he said, well, you look like her, and they had camping stuff in their car, which I had a sleeping bag in my back seat, and I gave them the wrong registration, so that I gave them another reason to be suspicious, I think.
Cascaden says she waited nearly 10 minutes while a number of police showed up before they realized who she really was. She says she's not mad about the incident. She's just happy the officers were doing their job. The Statue of Liberty will close for a year to get a facelift. The renovations begin in late October. They will total more than $27 million. The good news is Liberty Island will remain open during the year-long project, and views of the statue will remain largely unobstructed. An estimated 3.5 million people visit Liberty Island every year. Time for Global News Now. Police are beginning to restore order in Britain after 4 days of rioting. Now we know the toll of all that violence. 4 people were killed, including 3 men trying to protect their businesses from looters. The Center for Research says $28 million was lost in looted goods. Retailers lost more than $36 million in sales. The riots began after the deadly police shooting of a black man last week. The United Nations says 600,000 Somali children are on the brink of starvation. Tens of thousands of children have died in the East African country over the past 3 months. Many families are seeking help in what is now the world's largest refugee camp at the border with Kenya. The UN says the refugee complex is now a small city. It says about 1,500 new refugees arrive every day. More than 116,000 new refugees have arrived at that camp since January. Japan's prime minister is stepping down as soon as 3 key bills are enacted. The first bill, a second supplementary budget, has already passed. 2 remain, one for issuing deficit-covering bonds and a second promoting the use of renewable energy. He says once the condition is met, the Democratic Party will quickly call a presidential election. And that's your Global News Now. The first day of school holds an extra special meaning for one Georgia elementary school. Sarah Basole from our Columbus, Georgia affiliate WLTZ takes us inside Mountain View Elementary, not even 4 months after a tornado devastated the entire area.
On April 27th, a tornado practically demolished Mountain View Elementary School.
The whole top of the school was gone. I mean, the insulation was all over everywhere. And water was dripping everywhere.
Despite the disaster, a small token of hope.
When you're in elementary school around Mother's Day, you plant little flowers in styrofoam cups. They were still upright, right where they were supposed to be. And the rest of the room was absolutely, it was just devastation.
That hope continued, and today the school was back up and running for the beginning of the school year, and it's better than ever.
There was lots of exciting things. There's some new colors in the building. They were ready to see the new playground equipment.
The lights, the ceiling, the flooring, the carpeting, the furniture, you know, it's just really a new school.
Mountain View got back on its feet with a little help from the community. Local churches, schools, and other organizations donated school supplies and other supplies teachers lost in the tornado. The school even got some help from some out-of-towners.
A little school in Indiana and a little school in Pennsylvania raise money.
You know, people do still value education and they value helping one another.
It took a little over 3 months and almost $6 million to renovate the building.
Yeah, we were upset, but it was just brick and mortar. It doesn't become a school until the people enter it.
After ending last school year early, more than 800 pre-K through 5th graders were ecstatic to enter the new building. Teachers say some students didn't even recognize it. Sarah Belsole reporting for INN News.
Each student also received a backpack filled with school supplies, a gift from the donations of that community. Well, you constantly breaking the bank? There's a fix for some of you, especially if you still have some back-to-school shopping to do. The deals and steals you can find in thrift stores coming up. Plus, we know too much red meat can be bad for the heart, but it may also be the cause of another type of disease. Stay with us. INN will continue after this.